Hi everyone and welcome to this session on Blockchain Technology 101. I see this is a very interesting subject around. Let's understand the very word blockchain. It's a blockchain, a chain of blocks. And what is blocks? Is nothing but the transactions. And those transactions are in a digital form. Now people may be thinking, why this thing around blockchain technology? There was a wonderful subject like internet. If I look back to 1990s, I think after the internet, I think the next revolution I look is the blockchain technology. The biggest advancement since that time of internet I see as blockchain. Now, what we will try to do is in this blockchain presentation, why the need of the blockchain around. Many of you have sent the questions already. So I'll try to answer those. Why blockchain? Where it can be used, particularly in procurement and supply chain. And in India, is anybody using it? So we'll try to cover all those things around. In summary, I would say the blockchain technology is nothing but to harness the technology for added trust. So I'll try to explain that means it adds the trust, which was not there in the normal digital technologies around. It improves the efficiency also. And the last is security, security, security. That's the key thing around. If you look back today, all the digital we're thinking about, whether it's a banking, whether it's a Facebook, whether any activities we do around is all centralized. Even if you think of internet also promotes centralization. When I say internet means is basically network of computers connected through a protocol. And that also promotes, again, centralized approach. Now the centralized approach is wonderful, but the negative part is the security part. Anybody can go and change your data. Anybody can play with your data. And today, if you look around in this digital world, all of you and me are using the digital approach for shopping, buying, whether through Amazon or through any other e-commerce business around, or even on the social medias. All of them are centralized approach. You and me are giving the informations, but the data, you don't own it. The data is owned by the company which is maintaining it, and they can use it for their own purpose. So that blockchain is going to change the whole modalities around. So blockchain is nothing but is a democratization of this. So we are basically promoting, if I say that way around, we are promoting digital ownership. While when the internet came, it became the tool for internet was a tool for information, sharing information. I get a copy from you, I pass on to hundreds of people. But in the case of this one, blockchain, you become the digital ownership. So let me get more in detail on this. The learning objective or the takeaway we have kept for today is understanding the evolution of industry, digitization. Everybody's talking of digitization today. Even in the country also, at the country level, we're talking of digital India, digital supply chain. So supply chains are becoming digital. Understanding the concept of blockchain, what exactly is a blockchain? What is block? What is blockchain? How blockchain works around. And once we have understood this, how do I implement in my procurement activities, in my supply chain activities, even in my social medias around, can I use it or not? The next thing comes is the role of smart contract in supply chain. This is the most popular thing which is going on today, the use of smart contract. It makes the processes very automatic and the typical use cases. So this is what we will be doing for the next 1 hour, and then will be followed by the quiz around. So in short, as I said to you in the beginning, the key objective of today's presentation is to make you understand that this blockchain technology can help you to improve the trust in digitalization, improve the efficiency and security. So if you understand these three terms around, I think then I will feel comfortable that I have conveyed the right message. Let's get back to the first, digitization. We are all in the digital world. We're talking of Industry 4.0. So the fourth industrial revolution, Industrial Revolution 3 started in 1969 when the computers came around. So digitization started even from that time itself. I've seen many companies around 5 years back, 4 years back, transferring all their data into the digital format. To me, it is more of converting analog documents into digital. But we are looking for today's Industrial Revolution 4, we are looking digitalization, not digitization. So there are a wide range of technologies, and the biggest technology, the way I look around, is the blockchain. Blockchain by nature is digital, while other technology which you come across may not be by nature digital, while this one is digital. Others I would call as a digital immigrants, and this one I call as a natural digital. So the digitization of supply chain, if you look back, if you want to ensure the vision of Industry 4.0. So when I say the word 4.0, it means nothing but the fourth revolution. That means all the activities which are required in the industrializations, including the supply chain, because supply chain is a key component, has to be digitized. So wherever I've gone around many companies, I think everybody is focusing on this. Even if you look at their future plan, they say, guys, we have to digitize this procurement activity, we have to digitize payment account, e-invoicing, e-procurement. Everybody is moving into that direction. But that digitization is bringing its own risk also. It can be tampered. The documents can be changed. I know we have the 5 walls around, but still it can be planned around. So if you look at the digital supply chain, so when we say supply chain, I'm talking of all the components, whether you're talking of logistics, you're talking of procurement 4.0, you're talking of warehousing, every activity which falls into the supply chain has to digitalize. And the next one shows some people have come up with these control towers also. Even I got a message today from one Indian company, they're already doing this. So the normal supply chain is a very straight line, linear path. One activity goes to another activity, goes to another one, and that takes a long path. Visibility is not there. But if I connect all of them into a tower, all the information from my customer has become more customer centric. Every information is there available at central place. And then once the data is there, I can do artificial intelligence and make proper decision at the right time. Now, all of these are the wonderful tools to become digitized. But the risk in all of them is information can be copied, information can be shared, information can be done anything. So this is where I thought, let me first clarify to you what is digitization and what is digitalization. Digitization means information is coming, it might be in analog form, and then you convert them into by scanning into digital. While digitalization means by nature, by the process. Instead of you asking me to give me the hard copy of the bill, invoice, and then somebody scanning in the accounts department, here I upload straight online. That is what we call digitalization. But again, question comes, even if I do digitalize my procurement supply chain, is finance also digitalized? Is marketing also digitalized? That's what we call the transformation. So that means all the business units which are connected with us are transformed around. So this leads us to the concept of evolution of technology. So the technology which has come up to take over these problems of digitizations is blockchain. And some people call it Internet of Value. Initially, when Internet came around, you can see this way, up to 2005, closed, centralized IoT networks. Then the clouds came, which today are very popular. All activities are connected through the cloud, central clouds. But once we are going into the blockchain, I may or may not need it because every information, every block and connected chain is available to all my players. Who are to all the nodes, they get it up. So everybody is connected here. So that means the storage is done at each place, each node itself. To me, the node is a computer. So where the storage is done. And if my computer doesn't have a space, I could have my own server. So that's the model which is coming up around. Now, if you look at this way, when internet came, Web 1, Web 2, what we were doing is through internet, I can share with you the videos. I can share with you music. I can take somebody's copyright material, send to you. The person who's the owner is not getting the benefit of it. They are the losers. But now we are trying to look around is how do we, not the transferring of the data, because here we are copying it. Now when we come to the blockchain, we are doing the ownership part. That's why the cryptocurrency and all these things around, you can't transfer the money like you copy the money. So here we're talking of the ownership. So ownership means that you get more secure in that sense around. All your documentation, until you allow somebody, nobody can look at it. So I'm taking all the transactions. It could be intangible assets. It could be tangible assets. All are my transactions. And there are some obligation also. They're all my transactions. So all my transactions are transferred in a very decentralized way, not a centralized way. In Web 1, Web 2, they're all centralized. In Web 3, when I talk around under the blockchain, they are decentralized. Now, the little bit history of this one of blockchain, it was basically goes back to 2008 when America went through the recession. You know the name of the big banks. I mean, nobody knew what's going to happen with this bank, and overnight the banks becomes bankrupt. So that means people say, guys, we cannot have faith on the institution also. So this is where the whole concept came around of this blockchain. That means the blockchain means it is more of a democratic system. You're not depending on someone else outside us, and that's the way it works. Now, digital ownership revolutions, as I said to you in the very beginning, we live in a digital world, but we don't own data. You all know very well the cases of many things. People take your data, pull the data, sell the data. But blockchain is a word of the year I can see in the last years, and it is absolutely everywhere. Internet gave us the age of information. It's a wonderful tool which got around internet in 90s. Information's everywhere. Emails I could send around. Old letters were gone away, just all by emails. But now the blockchain is changing the whole thing of digital ownership. So blockchain is basically a chain of blocks which are digital information. The very two important thing of this blockchain is it's decentralized. I'll try to explain you what is decentralized. There's no single owner. If I have a network of 50 people, all the 50 nodes are getting each and every information. So when everybody is getting information like a democratic system, nobody can change it, and it's immutable. So no one can tamper with the data. So I would call it's immutable with the data on the blockchain. Now, this I think gives beautifully summary of the blockchain around. Blockchain is a database. Some people call it as a ledger. It's a digital ledger. So being a digital ledger, it maintains the growing list of records of transactions. Some may say it is a spreadsheet, then I will say to some extent, yes. You could call a spreadsheet digital spreadsheet, but then it's much more than that. Because spreadsheet does not have these things information shared publicly. It is decentralized. It is secure, trusted, and the last is automated. While in the case of spreadsheet, it may not be. So in short, it is a digital ledger. Now here comes the concept of centralized versus decentralized. You and me transfer the money to the bank. So bank is my central authority. We have a trust on that. And what happened in 2008 in the US, you can imagine around then people lose the trust on the institution itself. They want to go back to the democratic system where all the players with whom you are connected, That's more of a decentralized and distributed. That means everybody gets the information. The ledger is not only at one place when you ask for it. The ledger, the digital ledger, is a copy of that with everybody. So it's distributed. That's the way it is. So the block I've already explained to you, and the blockchain is nothing but the combination of those. Initially, the two words were separate. But then since they're connected, now we are using as a one word, blockchain, one word. Look at this, why blockchain? We have the digital tools. We have e-procurement, we have e-this, we have e-contract management, we have got many things. But all of them lack all this. First thing, that means unalterable copies. Nobody can change the copy. Existing technology, what we have, there's a centralized system who can change the copies. I can change the hook. Let's say my goods are coming from X and Y place. They're medical items, medical supplies, or agriculture foods. They're supposed to come at a particular temperature. They're supposed to maintain at a particular humidity. Either through IoT, the data is being recorded, but the database is central. If somebody wants, they can change it. They can say everything came at the right temperature, right humidity. But in the case of blockchain, nobody can alter it. Real-time tracking. Since the blockchain is connecting end-to-end, supplier, real supplier, tier 1, tier 2, even from where the raw material comes, I can connect everything, all the data. It's a real-time tracking. Security. That's the beautiful part of this security, which I'll explain around the cryptography, how we use the private key and the public key, how we do the hashing part of it. The security part is very, very important around, and that makes it immutable. Nobody can tamper it. No single point of failure. Today we are having one central database. We might have a backup, but if that data back is not available, we can't do anything. While in the case of blockchain, since everybody gets a ledger, everybody has a copy of the ledger. So even if one is not available, others copies are available. So it's no failure chances. Transparency. Since nobody can change it, information is available to everyone who are part of the chain. It's very transparent. It's again democratic system, democratic governance, whichever you may call, or centralized governance. So transparency is there now. It cuts the cost. I don't have to create so many documents. If items are coming from X place to Y place, it goes through import, export, and all those things around. All informations are available. So it cuts down the documentation cost. It cuts down the paper cost. So it reduces the cost. It's a trusted transaction and no third party involvement. So there is no third party ownership. Like in the case of a centralized system, bank is third party. In the case of Facebook, Facebook is the ownership around. So we are getting away from that. We're becoming more democratic. Now, how does it work? So a transaction is requested. Obviously, in any activities around any business, there's a transaction. Transaction can be purchase request, transaction could be a contract, transaction could be anything. Transaction could be payment, transaction could be buying of a property, assets, anything around. Those are my transactions. Now, those transactions I'm passing on to peer-to-peer network. So I have designed a peer-to-peer. If it's a public platform, it goes to everybody. But if it is a private platform, it goes to the network which we decided. If I'm working in company X, Y, Z, my company decides these are my players, in-house, outside, my stakeholders. They become my peers, peer-to-peer. So that network is connected. So information, when it goes from A to B, then obviously it goes, if I'm sending the paper to X and Y, then it goes through the whole concept of private key versus public key. The private key is nothing, just like your email. You have the email, yes. Every friend in your whole chain knows your email. But I want to open the email, I need a keyword. And that's where I need my own private one. So public key and private key. So that's the information goes there. Everybody checks it. This transaction is good, correct. Makes sense? Validates it. And after the validation has been done, the verified transactions it could involve cryptocurrency, could involve contract signing, could sign the records, anything around. Buying of the properties or other informations, it gets bricked into the line of the blocks. So blocks are being built up. So once it has been put, the new block has been added up. And the blocks beautifully connect to the hashing concept, which I'll explain to you. One block is gone, second block comes in. How does the second block finds whom should I get connected? There are thousands and millions of transactions going on. Where should I go? The hashing helps us. So we'll talk about hashing. And once it is connected and the transaction has been completed, that's the way it works. Now, same story comes up, which I explained to you earlier. But here I've tried to show you a little bit the consensus mechanism applied. Because I'm trying to broadcast my transactions to all the people, but then there's a consensus mechanism also around. And after the consensus, it gets hooked up with that. This is the beautiful thing of centralized versus decentralized. Your traditional system, whichever we are doing today, under the name of digitizations, all are central. Everything is central. All the 4 players are going through the center. Database is central. And anybody can change the data around. While in the blockchain, you can imagine here the ledger was only one. Who creates the ledger? Central authority. That's the truth. While in this case of blockchain, all the 4 players, it could be millions, it could be any numbers around, what you decide, all are connected. Everybody gets their own information, same information. So technically, everybody gets the same block. And block means digital ledger. So everybody has the same information. That's what we call the digital ledger. Again, story comes of storing part. In a centralized system, every information is stored at a web server in the central way. But here I'm not storing any central place. Everybody is getting the server, everybody is getting the block, chain is going to them, and just those who are connected with that, they're storing at their own place. They can use servers, or maybe they find the place in their own computers. So in short, if you compare the two, it's much faster. So everybody has the right time. It's more like a control tower. Everybody gets the information quickly. No single point of failure. All downloaders are uploaders also. The people who are downloading the data, who are downloading the informations, are also uploading the information. While in the case of the first one, high bandwidth users for server because it's centralized. I know some people have moved from that to clouds even, but this one gives you a different approach around. So here again comes think decentralized. So we are all thinking of decentralized approach, methodology in our day-to-day life. Data storage, I've explained to you. So when we talk about data storage, each data will have informations, text files. It will have even the time stamping, which date was created around. So complete information is there around. If tomorrow I want to pull some data around, I know how to pull it. That's what the hashing comes in. Some people call the blocks in chain is nothing but equal to pages in a book. Like in a book. So you have the pages. Each page is a block. So that's what we do. So from analogy, a book is a chain of pages. Each page in the book covers transactions. Now, I think this explains same thing around. I would call after hashing, it looks like more like a fingerprints. Nobody can change it. So in short, when I try to simplify it, it can contain financial information, can contain non-financial information. Any transaction can be there and is replicated. That's what the word called distributed across a number of systems in near real time. Every participants who are part of your chain, peer-to-peer network, owns the same copy of the ledger and gets updates. Uses cryptography and digital signatures to prove identity, authenticity, and enforce. So that's the beauty of this system around. Now look at this without blockchain and with blockchain. I'm doing a system today without blockchain, which is digitized. I'm not questioning that part. Look at the way it has to move the document from one place to another place because all are centralized. Here, information is going to everyone. So in short, the first one is very inefficient, expensive, vulnerable because it's centralized. And here it's a consensus based. Provenance, the truth is there. You have a faith in the system around. Immutable, security wise, immutables around. Nobody can tamper it. And finality, overthinks your limits around. And now how it works around. That's the key thing around. So block header is there. So block header is nothing but like a database record, where you have other fields along with the primary key. You have a timestamp, you have an audit log. Similarly, a block header will have other fields as well. While data is, each block will contain data pertaining to the use cases around. Look at this way the block looks like. Now X block, proof of work. Previous block number, the previous block is XC1, X minus 1, transactions. So whatever transaction you're putting, whatever the size of the string, it can go up to 1 megabyte. So whatever the size of the string, when it comes out, it comes up into SHA-256, one standard size of the string around. Is alphanumeric. You might have sent some money, you might have bought a property, you might have sent purchase orders, but the way it is hashed up, it looks like alphanumeric. So this is how the block goes around. So nobody can even understand it. Nobody can read it until it is again encrypted around, encrypted and decrypted around. So look at these three blocks working in the same chain, block 51, block 52, block 53. So block 51 has got its own set of transactions. Now 52 knows the previous block number is this. So naturally it gets connected there. When the next block comes 53, it says previous block is this, goes there. Each one has a timestamp and each one has the datas. And that's what we call the hashing. Again, is a cryptography algorithmic. So it gives us a wonderful tool around. Now there's a consensus process as told to you, because if I'm making my own small blockchain application. I've got 200 people within my company. Then I've got 200-300 people outside my company, my stakeholders, my suppliers. They're all part of the whole blockchain. So the consensus process would be, again, if it's a private one, 50 plus 1% has to say yes, they validate it. So once 50% people have, more than 50% has validated it, it gets okay. So now there are two ways, proof of work and proof of stake. Now proof of work was the one initially started when the Bitcoin came. You all know very well, the poster boy of blockchain technology was Bitcoin. And that became very risky around some people. Some government are still not supporting it. Government of India has not still allowed it. But certainly they are promoting the concept of blockchain technology. Because one application was Bitcoin. But that is a different story. People thought this could be used for money laundering and this and that. So government of India has still not supported it. But because the government wants to come with their own currency, digital currency. They don't want every private company trying to create their own digital currency. So they want to come with their own digital currencies. Possibly they will come with the tokens. So proof of work we were doing with that, which we used to do the work as mining and those. But now we use the proof of stake. Proof of stake means who has got the higher stake. If it's a private blockchain platform, in a private platform like Tata company or any companies around, they have their own blockchain. Certainly is a private platform, the stake is theirs, so they can authorize people who can approve it. In the case of proof of work, when we were doing a public one, who will do the validation? Why should they do it? Are they being paid something for that? So in the good old days when the bit currencies came around, Bitcoin came, they were paid some, you can say some credit to them guys to keep on doing the mining work. So this is a way proof of work. A lot of paper, a lot of hard work in this. Proof of stakes. People are authorized who can give the approvals. If you compare the two around, certainly proof of work is very time consuming, while the other one is much easier. So that's the way it is. Today I can say from the private company network, most of us are getting into this. Except if I want to use a blockchain for, let's say, voting. I want to use a blockchain for health records. Then I will go with other methods around, because then it will be open to the whole public. Now, the blockchain that initially was called blockchain 1 when Bitcoin came, but then the smart contracts came around, it became blockchain 2. The next version came around. Let me tell you also that when I used to be in the UN around, we had done few projects on blockchain. And I think the best country I can quote around was Estonia. We did two projects there around. One was on health records and second was on voting. Health records, you, me, everybody has biometrics. So with that biometrics, everybody records are available, accessible. So if I'm able to use my biometrics, I can access my records around. If something happens to me on the road, people can access through my biometrics, my records. They can see my blood group. They can see many things around. So it is working as a beautiful way. You don't have to carry all the time files of everything around when you go from one doctor to another doctor. Or you meet with an accident, they have the full health records available of you. Because all information is available in a decentralized form, again accessible through biometrics, so this works around. Now coming back to the smart contracts. Now these smart contracts are very popular, becoming very useful. Some companies have started doing it. So when I say smart, it's digital. You have to keep in mind when the word smart comes in, it's digital. Today, when we sign a contract that you will do this, I will do this, your liability, your accountability, my role, and when the payments will be done, I'm doing 20 milestones, 20 activities for you. First activity, this is the milestone. If it is done, payment will be released. If this is done, the payment will be released. Now, this whole thing can be codified. So that's what we're doing in smart contracts around. Even today, if you look around in ERP, what do we do for the payment part? I have a purchase order. I have an invoice. I have goods receipt note around. If all three are matching, payment goes through. While if you go back in the olden days, he'll go to the accounts will say, can you show me the copy of the POs? Can you show me this? It doesn't match. You ask 10 questions around. Here it is simple matching of three. Now, if this can be done in a digitized way, it becomes one step further than that, I would say ERP. Look at this. So smart contracts are basically protocols. And they are usually basically have interfaces. They can execute the terms of contract in an automated way. So whatever terms you have, contract means both sides have got roles and responsibility. And those roles and responsibilities are connected, and that can be checked through automated way, through the coding part. Look at this. This gives you a very beautiful idea. Pre-programmed contract. I have a contract. In contract means there are terms, rules, conditions of the agreements. All are established. And those are translated into the computer codes. So once I convert the whole thing into the code, then I've got chain of events. In the process, I might be having 20 activities around. So then when the chain of events comes, they happen with the condition occurs and code automatically executes it. If I say, moment I deliver it, you will make payment to me within 30 days. If item is accepted by your team, and then 30 days automatically starts, and then computer program can take care of execution of payments, execution and value transfers. And lastly, the settlement part around. So beautifully, this shows you how smart contract works it out. This becomes time bound, and people will have a faith, people will have a trust. So when I said to you in the beginning, it adds a trust for us. Same story again, smarter contract, transactions, predefined contracts. Obviously, each contract has events. Then there's a value transfers around and settlement. So in short, if I look around smart contracts, earlier we were doing manual data gathering across systems, roles. Now we are real-time connections. We don't have to do the manual collaboration, get that document, get this document. Since everybody in the chain is connected, the person who is placing an order, the person who is receiving it, the person who is making the payments, all are connected digitally. So it is not that only two people are connected unless they're only going with the manual part around. So there's no manual collaboration, it is digital collaboration and scenarios. So there is not the story of what if, or if this does not happen or this will happen. Here is an automatic simulation. I simulate my whole contract. If this happens, cleared by so and so, payment goes. So basically I simulate the whole process around. Now here it is a cadence-based planning. It's a continuous event planning driven and decision making around. Now coming back to this whole cryptography around. So when I said to you in the beginning, it adds, blockchain helps you to improve the trust. It improves the efficiency, and third is security, security, security. Now anything I move it, suppose if I'm working in X company and I pass on the documents to B, and there are 50 other people also, but I'm sending from A to B, but the information will go from A to B only through the keys concept, public key, private key. And public key and private key is nothing more like your email. Everybody in those network, peer-to-peer network, knows my email address. But to open it, I need a password. But the password is with me. So by the combination of the two, public key and the private key, to whom I'm sending, A is sending to John, is sending to Smith. And the moment John sent to Smith information, and both have got A and B keys around, and they are able to, one goes in, it goes in an encrypted way, and the other guy is able to decrypt it, agrees it, accepts it, and then it is passed on to the whole group as a whole. If this transaction has happened. So then everybody validates it. And once the validation has happened, it goes for the step. So that's the one way of cryptography in this one. Now here we are trying to do is a digital identity around. When I say I use my public key, it becomes my digital. That means I'm accepting it. So till I don't use my private key, it is not approved by me. So it's a combination of the two. It ensures my digital signatures around. Now cryptography wise, if same thing I explained around node 1, it gives encoding part. I use the private key. Now it goes for the encoding part. Again goes is, when it goes to the node 2, so 2 has got his own private keys. And he does it, basically opens up the whole file. And after opening the file, he's hoping, okay, then he decodes it. And after decoding, it is sent to the whole group as a whole. So transaction is happening between 1 to 2. I'm transferring money from 1 to 2. I'm sending a request, a purchase request to be approved by the other one. But then everybody knows who are the stakeholders in the network, peer-to-peer network. This activity has happened on this date. And if others also validate it, if this block moves from one place to another place. So let's look at this platforms wise. There are two types of platform. And if I look around the technology wise, public, private platform, and there's federated also, which is a more like a hybrid one. Any activity where you feel public should be involved. Let's say tomorrow we think of going for election, then naturally it will be public platform. So it will be public blockchain around. But if I'm looking for a company, I've got 20 companies around, all 20 companies, I've got 200 branches, then I will have my own private blockchain. But then there are companies, sometimes they work, 2 or 3 companies join hands together to share the knowledge. They could federate around. So that's the way it works it out. But keep in mind, when we're doing in a private, the speed is faster, approvals are faster, Validation process is faster. So it improves the speed of transactions as it is. The number of transactions per second, it goes much faster. While in the case of public, it is very slow. I mean, even today, that's why still acceptance of the blockchain is having limitation. It takes 10 minutes by the time one block moves further. While in the private, it's much faster around. So consortium, again, as I said to you, people can join hands. Now, one is permission ledger. So in a private, I permission somebody. Everybody cannot go and join it. So it's a permission ledger. While in the case of public, it's non-permission. Anybody can go and join. Anybody can validate it. So that's the difference around in the two situations around. So existing platform, there are many. Ethereum is one, which is public platforms. Now, many platforms are existing around. Now, Hyperledger has come up in a big way. So if you all remember the good old days when internet came, or even Microsoft came around, before the Linux was trying to come up with their own open source. So Linux Foundation is working on it. They announced in 2015. And they are being supported by IBM and many other players around, big players. So they are working on this Hyperledger projects. So this Hyperledger project is nothing but open source. And we expect more and more companies using it. Already, if I look at internationally, a very famous one is a Merck, which they are using in cooperation with IBM. So any transaction which Merck does it worldwide, they're the biggest one when it comes to logistics. So certainly they're able to track, trace anything. So Hyperledger platform is an open source. It's a collaborative efforts created by the Linux foundations. Another big partner in IBM, as I said to you, is IBM. But this is more focused on private network. Keep that in mind. It is not meant for the public. For the public, then you have Ethereums and others around. So blockchain application, now if you look around, many of you send these questions. There are many. Healthcare is there. IoT is very popular. If I'm using IoT, I'm connecting my each and every things, you can call the way things or object, to the internet. This connection is done. Information is being stored centrally. But instead of centrally, I want to store everybody in a democratic way, then the blockchain helps me out. So if I make blockchain and internet work together, then everybody who's there in the network, everybody knows the latest information. Nobody can hamper it, nobody can tamper it. So it's immutable records. So that's a beautiful thing around. Now coming back to the supply chain, I'll take a few examples with you. This is one example I talked to you about tracking and tracing. My shipment is coming of medical supplies. It requires particular temperatures, particular humidities. Today, when we are doing digitize, even with IoT, all records are going at a central place. And those central place, I can change it. Even the heating system might have stopped, cooling system might have stopped. I can play with it. I'll tell you, oh, everything was maintained correctly. But in blockchain, no chance. Because this is connected through the blockchain and IoT is connecting it to the internet, yes. But then blockchain is the source. So it basically tracks and traces through and through. It is not only with the one, it's a decentralized system. Now let's go back to the use case around. Now the use case part, I can see, if you can look around, so many players are there. They're feeding it here. Now, so many records are there. If you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vertically in the very first activity, but they are becoming my blockchain records. All could go as 1 or 3, whatever case may be. So one blockchain records from one activity, one place to another place. So now once I've done this and now I have to make a payment here, so blockchain smart contract is formed. So now this blockchain smart contract, because this guy is sending the goods to the warehouse, obviously the contract has to be there. No movement can happen without a contract. So each place from one place to another place, there's a contract. And that blockchain smart contract is there. So whenever things are matching and this payment goes through. Similarly, when it goes to the shipment, So each place you are seeing so many activities, they're all clubbed together. And smart contracts are formed around. So even when it comes to the customs, they can themselves track and trace what is the origin of this one around. I don't have to fill more forms around. So this is where some countries are already started using it. Some are still much far behind. So we'll talk about this later. This is another part, P2P process around, then procurement to pay process. So there are many activities which can go through the blockchain and cuts down your cycle time. So this is why I said to you in the beginning, three things around: trust, efficiency. So since I'm not duplicating the data around, because information is all digital. So basically being a digital is ownership. The ownership is being passed on. And nobody can change the data around. Nobody can play with the data. It's transparent. So this process is much simpler, much more trustworthy. Now looking back to the use cases, I know some questions came on this. How many are using around? If you look in the whole world, some people are using for healthcare, very popular, I would say. Some using for tax filings around. Some are using for voting. Voting, very few countries have done, particularly small countries. And you know that Dubai is already made up from 2020. They would like to have all governance system by this one, by blockchain. India, if you look around in the map, this one, India is using basically for smart contracts, quite a lot, and asset registry. Asset registry was started by Andhra government. With the previous government, they started around. I said they're very active, they were doing on this part. Even in the north also some projects were taken up, but still going slow a little bit, I can say. But it's moving it. Okay, today when you look at the assets, most of the cases, court cases you find is all about the land. Now with this blockchain, possibly we are able to track and trace. Nobody can change the data easily. Yours or my house properties kept a record somewhere digitally, fine, but the digital records can be changed. But with the blockchain is impossible. So that's where it is still moving on. If you look at the project which are active in India's Telangana, so land registrations, data protections wise, they're using it. Andhra has done land records. They started 3 to 3 years back around. They've already started educational certificates they're giving around. So that means if certificates are given, nobody can make a fake certificates around because information can be tracked and traced. So once you carry that certificates, one can easily track and trace when it was issued, who issued it, and is the right one or not. Road transport license around, KYC. You can imagine around today, if you've got accounts in 3 banks, everywhere you're filling the KYC. Why can't KYC go one place you do it, it goes to everyone. So KYC for hotel records, KYC for the banks. So those are activities which are going around. Maharashtra has also started with the land records. Haryana also started one project in Panchkula, but still in the process of moving. And UN was very much active involved in that. Karnataka, intellectual property. Goa, the land registry. So if you look totality wise, land record is the first thing around. E-governance, smart contract, few people have started. It's not able to put it here around, but there are few people who have started on this around. Then there's another one, Indian Industry Consortium lead who are taking around. Auto sector has taken the lead. The bank chain consortiums, again 37 banks from India and the Middle East, they have started around to transfer the money. Insurance sectors and automobile sector, I think they have been very fast moving on this. If I'm doing the vendor management in company X, auto company Y is doing vendor management. So they want to share their information quickly. So they are also working on this. I think they have already made headway in this direction. If you look at the job blockchain, certainly you can see the list around. The major jobs are in Bangalore, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pune, and Gurugram, and Chennai, Noida, New Delhi, Mohali. Well, this is where the whole game starts. So again, Bangalore is still the Silicon Valley of India. That's where the jobs are there in the blockchains. But it's picking up in a big way, I would call it. I would say in the years to come, this could be a wonderful career around. If we are moving into the digitalization or digitalization, this is the way to go. So finally, I will try to quote on this. Blockchain technology could prove to be a valuable tool for procurement and supply chain in the quest for transparency. If you want transparency, you want efficiency, you want trust, then certainly this is the way to go. So blockchain won't wait for you to be ready for it, which means it is time to brush up your knowledge and understanding the right here and right there. And we have already started long back, 2-3 years back, the certification also on this. Many people have done it. So I feel this is a very popular field, I can say that way around. The key takeaway which I can say from this program, I expect that blockchain is an ongoing revolution, keep in mind. And that revolution is trying to make us more and more digital ownership. So digital ownership means you protect your things around. Not like internet where we are transferring the information by the press of a button, somebody's song, somebody's music. The poor guy who has developed it doesn't get much money for it. So this way we are able to control the intellectual property. I think for intellectual property, this is good. So until you authorize, because you are the digital owner, nobody can use it. Blockchain establishes the trust. Being a very democratic process, it builds the trust around. Blockchain isn't for any domains. Blockchain is threatening any middle person. Technically, if you look around, it removes the middle persons. This connects person to person, point to point. So the blockchain will boost economic growth and prosperity the way we look. But I know it's still in the nascent stage. It will take a few years before we go further. Lastly, I want to thank you all for the patient hearing.